Okay, well, first of all, good win against a quality opponent. I think you guys saw out there, we're raising the football team. Every rep that we gain is invaluable. With 70 plus new members of this football team. But prior to the game, I said there was three things that we got to work to get answers on. One, who are we? Two, where are we? And what do we need to do to get better? And so I thought we played winning football at times, and at times it was sporadic. I didn't think we played winning football. Didn't like the way the game ended. We talk about playing to a standard. Never been a part of an ending like that. Can't turn the football over on offense. We're trying to give individuals reps, and you got to value the football. And then, we give up a punt return, although it was called back with a penalty. That's unacceptable. And these are all things to be the team and the program that we are and the team that we want to be. These are things that we need to get cleaned up in a hurry. But so many learning opportunities. I was pleased by the way our team responded, particularly in the first quarter. And then when you look at the second quarter, we outgained them 188-14 in total yardage. So I like the way that started. We forced 4 consecutive 3-and-outs. I thought we controlled the momentum of the game for the entire game, which was good. We had some challenges along the way, but I felt like we never relinquished the momentum. I thought Jalen did an outstanding job of really managing the game. But there's some things that, happened today that we're not going to be able to get away with in the next couple of weeks. And it's like I told our team, welcome to the SEC and high-level football. You have a top-notch SEC program that some people think are the most improved SEC program in there, and I have a lot of respect for the SEC, obviously spending a lot of time there. And then you turn around, you probably play the team that's going to be the Big 12 champion. And so we have to get better in a hurry, but it's always great to correct after a win. But I thought we had some individuals really step up. I thought Mason Myers stepped up at center for us. He didn't practice 2 weeks ago. So for him, I thought he did some really good things, and really appreciative of him, of his toughness and his grit. But there's some things from just an overall fundamental standpoint that we got to get cleaned up. Wanted to see our in-stadium communication from the 40-second clock to the 25-second clock. You try to really work those in training camp, but we don't have a preseason game. So our in-game management, our in-stadium management, how we did it. We had some pre-snap penalties, but we can't have. But for the most part, I thought it was relatively clean. But I think as we continue to grow and elevate this team, they have to understand the standard of performance that's required every day in practice, in the meetings. You get what you put into it. Playing time is earned. And even at the end of the game, if you get 1 rep or 5 reps, it's invaluable. And when you become a program, we are a program like that the expectation and the standard does not change no matter who's on the field for you. But a good win. Like I told our team, half of college football lost today or will lose today. So to be sitting here at 1-0, this is a game that we had to win. I was thinking about this at the hotel, and I'm not very good at math. So I'm going to ask you, Jeff, what's our record in the last 3 years at home at Arkansas State?
We're 6-1 the last.
We're 10-3. And to be the program that we're working to be, you got to win your home games. I stumped you there for a minute. Keeping you on your toes. But we're winning our home games, and we're going to have some big home games coming up. But as a program, you need to win your home games, and we're winning our home games in Centennial Bank Stadium, and that's big as we continue to move forward. So I'll pause and I'll open it up for questions.
Seemed like early on they had some success offensively and defensively, but when you guys forced a turnover on the pass,
Changed everything.
it changed.
You know, the momentum changed. You know, we 9 out of 11 new starters on defense, I thought it showed in the way we started the game. They were always ahead of the sticks. It was always 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. They were always grinding out on 1st and 10s, 4 to 5 yards. So you're behind the sticks at 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, and we weren't able to get off the field. We lost the edges to our defense. We didn't set the edges. All these things that are very correctable, but we need to get them corrected in a hurry as we, continue to improve. And as long as I've been doing this, teams usually make the biggest turnaround or the biggest improvements from game 1 to game 2. But I thought the turnover really changed the momentum of the game, and then I was pleased. We had a sudden change opportunity on offense, and we were able to go and take that turnover and turn it into 7 points. So I was excited about that. But as a coach, there's probably 4 to 6 plays that kind of stick in your memory that we need to get cleaned up, and that's not going to be what we're about. We cannot turn the football over. 4th and 1, we got stopped. Our pad level was way too high. It's a mentality. All those things. I think defensively too, I want to say they had like a 17-play drive and we held them to a field goal. And that's part of the, of getting off the field. We weren't able to get off the field in that first quarter, and then we forced a turnover, and then it's like almost everyone kind of slowed down and relaxed and took a deep breath. And we needed that. I needed to see how we would respond, and I was pleased the way we responded.
Great win, Coach. I just want to say, was there anything that y'all did specifically or executed on that you think might get swept under the rug that really did a big part of this win tonight?
That's a good question. I think we were able to get off the field on 3rd down, particularly in the second half, and that's a byproduct of winning on 1st down. They were kind of bleeding us a little bit with 4 and 5 yard runs, which you can't do. And, we controlled the sticks in the second half. So I think that was big. We had 10 different receivers catch the football tonight. So I thought Jalen, the way he distributed the football, we always talk about our quarterback being a point guard. You got to put the ball in play. I thought Jalen made the routine plays routinely. That's something that we've been, really talking with him about. I thought Jaquez Cross did some good things, not only in the run game, but the throw game. Devin Spencer, you can see, adds another element to us. So I think Tyler Fortenberry's performance, I thought he did some good things. These are all newcomers, that he did a really good job. I thought we were able to apply some pressure, and that kind of changed really the flow and the tempo and the momentum of the game.
You mentioned at halftime that you wanted to get more out of the passing game, and immediately coming out, Jalen finds Rucker for a 50-yard pass over the middle. Turns into a touchdown a couple plays later. But also Jalen, defense was able to get to him 2 or 3, maybe 4 times. He got away all 3 or 4 times, however many times it was. Turned nothing into something. That's got to be huge for you guys also.
Well, it's big. You have to eliminate negative yardage plays. And for the most part, we were able to do that. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get away with that the next couple weeks. So we have to do a much better job relative to the protection. But, Jalen has really, really learned. Sometimes in training camp, his vision was dropping. He was low vision in the pocket at times. And to his credit, he came to me the next day and said, Coach, my vision was down. I didn't like my pocket mechanics, my pocket etiquette. And he was able to improve and work on that. I thought today he was a high vision quarterback. I thought he kept the plays alive. And he did a good job. Like I said, he made the routine plays routinely. They were playing a lot of man coverage at first and really challenging us. And I thought his accuracy with the deep ball, I thought Hunter Summers really gave us a spark really relatively early in the game. And we were able to match their scores and match the momentum. And like I said, we never relinquished the momentum, and all that goes hand in hand with all that. But our players got to understand plays off of plays. You know, I'm a coach. I think about the way the game ended, and we got to get that rectified and corrected. But, you know, our players understanding that plays set up plays, like plays come off of plays. And so every rep you take is vital. And again, you know, I'm excited to watch the film and look at how many players did we really have play winning football, you know, and continue to teach this new football team what winning football looks like and what goes into it and how do you prepare it. You know, we can really take monumental improvements. We're going to have to. This has been a challenge. You know, I've never been around anything like this with 70 new players. I mean, we tried to mimic last week an in-game season, you know, in an in-game schedule, but you really never know because, you know, we started school at midweek, so you really didn't get a full week. So when they came back on Monday, we're in season. A lot of these individuals for the first time, you know, are going through it. And, you know, even your Friday routine at the hotel, you know, your Saturday structure, your Saturday routine, all that goes into it that, you know, a lot of people have no idea. I was able to, you know, we go to First National Bank and do our walkthrough and all that, and I was able to watch Coach Pannone and watch them practice a little bit today, and Chuck Mitchell was in there, and I said, come take a walk with me, and kind of brought him behind the scenes of, you know, our walkthrough at First National Bank and our stretch and kind of getting our bodies jump started. And he was amazed. He's like, I had no idea that this actually goes into your preparation, you know, prior to this. So it was a lot of new learning curve for a lot of people. Also as a coaching staff, you know, the entire defensive staff, brand new. So how do they work together? The communications, the lines of communication, the communication from the press box down to the coaching staff, what we do in pregame warm-ups, everything that we get to halftime, you know, information to our players. So much of it was new, and we rehearsed it, but I liked the way everybody responded for the first time.
Coach, we talked about the defensive line being a work in progress. What did you see from that group tonight?
Same thing, you know, they're very talented. I think it's them understanding fronts and coverages and how they go together. You know, the biggest thing we have to work on is setting an edge. You know, a lot of their runs that kind of spit out the back door, those are because we didn't set edges to our defense. So we got to respect the edges of our defense. And so that's a point of contention that we got to get cleaned up in a hurry. We didn't do a good job there. But I think just all four of those individuals working collectively as one. And I thought we made a lot of strides and progressed. I mean, you look at it, every defensive lineman played for the first time besides Brian Whitehead and Ethan Hassler. And Marcus Bradley really didn't play much last year. So when you really think about it, that's an entire room from the edges to the defensive tackles. And, you know, a lot of really positive things to build upon. I thought Cody Sigler did some good things and Mitchell did some good things. You know, we played a couple true freshmen tonight. That was good. I think the other thing is we were able to get some individuals quality reps that we can teach upon and kind of see what they can bring to the table, you know, for the future as well.
As you look to the next 2 weeks, like what will be the biggest thing that you'll be talking to your guys about, like in practice or improvements or adjustments?
Just improving every day. You know, the mental effort, the mental intensity that goes into preparation, you know, the intensity that goes into practice, the physicality of practice, you know, everything that goes into it for you to be the best version of you. And you have to simulate game speed reps. And as we all know, in the next couple weeks, the speed of the game is going to immensely change. It's going to be completely different. So, you know, I think just taking it one day at a time and just working every day to improve it and knowing what we need to improve upon, and that's our job, and that's my job as the coach, and our job as coaches to have like an individual prescription plan for everyone to get better, but also for our team in general as well.
Hey, Coach, unless I read the stat sheet wrong, it looks like Nigel Nelson, your true freshman linebacker, had the most total tackles tonight. What's the future, what's the ceiling for this kid?
Yeah, we're excited. You know, he is mature beyond his age. He's really gifted with football instincts, and he's extremely cerebral when it comes to football intelligence and football IQ. And, you know, we had 3 true freshmen play tonight in significant moments of the game, and then even more when Malachi Whedon went in. But we had 3 that really played when the game was contested, and so that was great to get them reps and moving forward.
Coach, the other day you kind of mentioned that you didn't really know what to expect from this team with all these newcomers and kind of waited, you thought you had an idea, but how close was this to what you expected tonight?
Pretty much what I expected. You know, we didn't start fast defensively like I would have liked to. And again, it's the fundamentals, the details, it's the eye discipline, it's the 11 for 11, it's setting the edges. But I love the way they responded. And again, we talk so much about generating turnovers, and that was a great punch at the ball. And then we were able to capitalize, obviously, off of that. Again, I go back to the end of the game. That's inexcusable in our program. And it's not just 1 or 2 plays. It's a combination of about 4 plays at the end. And so we got to get that cleaned up. But it's always great to teach. But you can't have inattention to results. You know, a lot of times you got to play the what if game. Well, if they were, you know, your opponent, and I'll look at contested plays. You know, how many of our plays were contested plays, and you know what happens a couple times where they had an errant throw. Well, what happens if that's not an errant throw? You know, so all these things that we have to do a much better job and continue to improve upon.
Coach, you had 3 different running backs score at least 1 touchdown in the game. Is that sort of the plan moving forward, sort of a run by committee?
Yeah, we have a lot of confidence in our running back group. I think all their skill sets complement each other. They're great competitors. They're good for each other. They encourage each other. They challenge each other. So we have a lot of confidence in that room. And they work very, very hard individually and collectively in practice every day in their video studies. So, you know, a lot of those individuals have earned the right to play.
You also had success in the pass game with the tight ends tonight. I know that's something that we haven't always seen, but tonight they look, you know, so what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I'm excited about that room. You know, and again, it's kind of like our running back room. You know, each of those individuals have different skill sets, and I think they complement each other. And they're viable weapons in our throw game. And I thought Jalen did a good job of reading the different coverage and some coverage rotations. You know, you can see Tyler Fortenberry adds another element. You know, so all those individuals, Tyler, you know, Jabari Bush got in at the end of the game. So, you know, all those individuals really complement each other, and that's a good room for us.
All right, Coach, I gotta ask this, right? Next week, first time these 2 teams have ever faced off against each other. What are you gonna tell your team that way they don't get swept into the hype of this game?
Well, you're playing a quality opponent. I mean, you're playing an SEC program that may be, you know, one of the most improved teams in the SEC, and they're going to probably challenge to win it. They have a talented quarterback. Their payroll's probably about $17 million more than ours. So to put things in perspective and be real with you, I have a lot of respect for them. I have a lot of respect for their head coach. I have a lot of respect for how they built it. They built it with toughness. So it's going to be a great challenge. And I think when our players watch them on video, they'll know right away there is no hype for us. You know, it's great for the fans and it's great for the state, but make no mistake about it, this is probably one of the biggest challenges we've had since we've been here. This is a really good football team. And I think you saw that by them today, and anytime you put 50 points on a scoreboard, that's hard to do on air. So it's going to be a great challenge, a monumental feat for us.
Everybody good? All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.